Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton. You know, there is no doubt that Torah is the foundation of the world. So how do we arrive at that? Well, we go back to the beginning of Genesis in chapter 1, verse 1, and it says, in the beginning of God's creating, etc., and it goes forth. So it's establishing a foundation immediately. We know that God is our sovereign. He is the only God of the universe, and it belongs, all of creation belongs entirely to God, nobody else. So, and nothing came into existence without God's commanding it. And that came about through what is called the 10 divine utterances, meaning God said. And those 10 divine utterances were combinations of the holy Hebrew letters. And that is what brought into existence creation as we understand and know it in reality today. Now, here's the wonderful thing, that what God did create with his 10 divine utterances only continues to exist through a continual vibration of those divine utterances. A continual vibration of those divine utterances is what keeps everything going as we know it. It takes a little bit of pondering on that, but we know that is the truth because we have Torah. So let's talk about another thing. We understand that Torah is not a history book. What it is a compilation, a charter, if you like, of what man's mission or purpose is on earth in this world. So therefore, people who read Torah and expect it to go along, or for that matter, the entire Tanakh, which contains a lot of holy scriptures, the Psalms, the prophets, etc. They can't expect to start on page 1, 2, 3 and continue on and have a complete history of what in chronological order. It just doesn't work that way. So we know that this charter for man's purpose in the universe, we know it exists. And something else to think about is that the written and oral Torah were revealed to Moses by God. And it was at Mount Sinai that written and oral, or the oral Torah was given, and it was later transcribed. That's a whole nother lesson that we can't fit that in today. But what I want to do is just explain a bit more about these divine utterances. And the 10 utterances were, as I said, Hebrew letters. I have a pesty fly here. And it's that combination of those letters continually vibrating. If you can just imagine it vibrating continually, and that is what keeps everything, that's what keeps gravity working. That's what keeps the stars in the heavens and the oceans in the ocean, the water in the ocean, so to speak. But moving along now, past man's mission on this earth, if the Torah is the foundation of the world, let's look at how creation came about. You know, did God just decide one day, I'm going to make some stuff? Does a builder decide one morning when he gets up, oh, I'm going to build something today, and just go out hammering some nails in some wood and expecting something to come out of it? No. You see, God had a blueprint already in place. And do you know what that was? It was the Torah. The Torah preceded the creation. Now, a lot of people find that difficult to get their head around, or a lot of people don't even realise that until they're told it. So God had a blueprint, the Torah, and it was according, and that Torah allowed it then to be transferred from God through Moses down to the rest of creation. So at Sinai, that was. And that was when the 10 Commandments were given to the Jews, and 7 commandments were for the non-Jews, the Gentiles. There had been 6 of those laws given prior to Noah and the ark, and the 7th universal law, or Noahide law as they call it now, was given to Noah when he exited the ark. Hence the 7 Noahide laws. And they were again, along with the 10 commandments given at Mount Sinai for the Jews, those 7 previous commandments were reiterated and reaffirmed at Sinai at the giving of the 10 commandments, so during the time of when that was given at Mount Sinai. So, getting back to how God designed this world, why was it, we now know he had a blueprint, which was the Torah. So what, that design of the world had to have a purpose, didn't it? And that Torah, the Torah that preceded the creation, the building, so to speak, that was made so that man could carry out those commandments on earth. So the Torah, the blueprint for creation, was a plan going forward for mankind to keep the holy word of the scriptures, that keep the Torah according to how God commanded it to us. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, so to speak. So in other words, the Torah can only be fulfilled on earth, and that came about through God giving it to Moses and Moses passing it on. Now, Moses was able to write those scriptures, and also there is conjecture sometimes and disagreement over the oral Torah. Well, make no mistake about it, not only was the written Torah dictated by God to Moses, but also the oral Torah, the explanations, etc. And that was passed on through generation to generation, verbatim, word perfect. But during difficult times, when the Jews were subjected to endless persecution, which seemed to be always, and certainly at the time of the diaspora, it was prudent amongst the sages, their belief that oral Torah, those oral instructions, be committed to paper so that, to safeguard against there being any break in tradition or any other travesties that were going to fall upon the Jewish people. So it was committed to paper. And we know and trust that the entire transcribing of that oral Torah through those holy sages is a true and accurate reflection of God's word. So, when we say that the Torah is the foundation of the world, it certainly is now. It makes sense. It was the blueprint for the creation. I hope you've enjoyed this short video. I would like to talk more about these topics, especially about the Torah and the scriptures. And please leave a comment if you would like to hear more, or a particular part of the Torah or other holy scriptures. I'm more than happy to do a short video on those topics. But in the meantime, please take care and God bless.